debate Uncut. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tool and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Amish, Vitali Z, Colton James, BG, Survive the Spin, FE Patriot, On the Level, Thomas van der Zander, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, No Smart Comments, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Names Burley, Twardwazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMels24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, John Case, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Yun Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
You heard of Young Turks, an American communist political group on YouTube? Yeah, they covered it today, and there was quite a significant amount of flat earthers in the comments calling Jared a shill and the experiment a sham.
Yeah, because it's been pulled apart so much. No footprints in the snow, no condensation from breathing. There's just so much wrong with it. Sun changing shape.
Yeah, I was all willing to agree with them going until, you see all the evidence of them going.
Still waiting for Witsit to post his 24-hour solar filter shot of the sun.
Oh, hold on, what are we, chasing the feast of nonsense again?
That's how he said he verified it was the sun he was looking at.
Neil's right though. It's it's all just a distraction. It's all just nonsense.
It's the new
Just
fake
look
moon
at it this
landing.
way. Can you trust any of them? Do you trust anybody that went there?
Not a person.
Supposedly went to wherever they went. Let's just say they went to this place called Antarctica. Any of those
After the
people got
Netflix
credibility? Do any of those people hold any credibility at all?
After the Netflix show, I kind of went, oh, they're shill, but I gave them the benefit of the doubt because they said Netflix had the final edit on it and they cut out half of the experiment with the laser. But now, yeah, they're shills.
Look, for all we know, Bob Nodell might not even be dead. We don't know anything from that crew.
What the Young Turks had to say about it anyway? I just wonder. I haven't heard of them since like Trump was new as president.
It was some American Indian lady host, and she just went through the mantra, mate. She just read off a script that anybody could read off. You could have written it for her.
Wait, what are you talking about? I missed that.
Have you heard of the Young Turks, the communist political organization on YouTube, American?
I have not.
Lucky you. Well, them amongst many have just. I said to Adam when he joined, there's so many YouTubers that have covered it. Will Duffy's brought more attention to the subject than I think he anticipated.
Nothing worse for Globe than Glovers.
What I don't
It's just
understand is they knew people would pick apart these videos. Why didn't they do a better job?
There you have it. That's my thing. Was it intentional?
Come on, you can look at the videos and go, hey, they're not, no footprints in the snow. When, you know how hard the snow would be to leave no footprints in it? It'd have to be ice. It look like ice. I live in Canada. I know what ice snow looks like.
There's a
Yeah, but
quote
isn't this all a distraction, a red herring from the affirming the consequent fallacy?
Yes.
300 up, an average of 300 a mile an hour winds is what they tell you on Google. And they had no wind?
I was just thinking about Ferris Bueller when he was talking about giving his parents something to find when he was, when he was faking sick, and he said, "Always give him something to find." I always thought about that when NASA does it, because NASA should be able to at least fake it better, right?
Give him something
They
to
put all
find.
the
Elaborate
red
on that, Adam.
herrings
What
and
does he
movies
mean?
and
What
all
does, what
that.
does he give them to find?
Yeah, you're gonna have to explain that Ferris Bueller's reference.
Okay. Well, all right. You got your parents going through your room to clean your room or whatever, and you don't want them to see your favorite magazine. So you put, a cigarette or something like that in a box uh, over top of the magazine so that at least they find something.
So when they
And they
find the
give up.
cigarette, they stop looking because they think they found the dirty deed. Yeah, it's a
Right.
good trick. I'll have to employ that one. Thank you.
And with us, it's it's pretty deep end. You know what I mean? Like we're over here, we're like, oh, there's no snow, there's no breath, there's no. Come on, man.
What you're talking about is basic misdirection. I believe I know this stuff. This is
Correct.
part of what I was taught on my performing arts course when I learned about how to do magic. One of the many things I did. Monetized it in many ways. Me and a guy called Ray, running a little stall in Stratford upon Avon, selling little magic tricks. Getting people to fire juggle in front of it was quite amusing for paying the rent or paying whatever I was paying when we weren't fighting each other in the middle of the cop and earning money busking. So magic tricks is a basic principle of misdirection. Wave the left hand so that they don't see what the right hand's doing.
I mean, it's pretty like they did it well. Like they did it well, and they got us chasing a bunch of different tails. You know what I mean? They got us chasing a bunch of different. There's a word for it, but I'm not really sure. Chasing tails sounds good.
Well, you said earlier, chasing a load of red herrings. This dodges the overall affirming the consequent or false dichotomy if you're a flat earther. And it also puts another new layer on it, which is the idea of projecting your cope onto your opponent. Rather than this proves a ball, this disproves a flat earth. So you've got this extra layer of detachment from what it's supposed to be proving. Is it supposed to be proving a ball? Well, when they go that one step extra to get their extra bit of cope to show that it matches the model, that's as close as they get. They start using flat earth measurements, which is where we step in, to laugh from the sidelines while we're drinking a beer. And look at those Muppets all fighting each other. Now, on the other hand, right, so Banjo was saying anybody who agrees or affirms that they have actually observed this 24-hour sun based on what they've given us is a shill. I'm like, that's a step too far because we can take it or leave it. Now, when we do take it, I'm not going to suggest for 1 second that means I'm affirming that what they've done is or isn't true. It's just for the sake of anybody, if you're honest and you can engage in civil discussion, as we get projected this at us when they're not doing that, we might as well actually use the terms correctly. You can engage in the idea of both sides of the discussion at some point. You can entertain it, right? So I can entertain the idea that it's all real, to be taken as read, as viewed, as it's been described. No worries. And what's that? I should pay attention. Okay, what we got? Sun's in the sky. That's fascinating. And now lay it on me. What does it prove? Oh, you got nothing. You don't even know how to fallaciously push it into a logical syllogism. Well, that's not my issue. I don't care. It's fascinating. So you start extrapolating it out in something that's got some substance. There's a good chance you'll start using flat Earth measurements. So that's that. So it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make me a shill for accepting it, temporarily or otherwise, as completely real. On the flip side of that coin, when people go, look at, there's no snow tracks when they're walking around it, but seemingly there is when they do the marathon, and yet it's heating up and sludging up and it's the sun's out, and I go, okay, well, I've never been, I don't know what the environment's like in Antarctica. I'm sure this is all explainable if I want to look into the idea of it being a complete fake, bogus guys in tents. Then you got first-hand testimony. Now, do I trust Whitsitt any more or less than Robert Shortman? No. I don't know Robert Shortman that well. I chatted to him a few times. Probably spent more hours chatting to Whitsitt. Do I know him any more or less? Let's use a better example. Jaron, because I would say he reaches the same standard as Robert Shortman. I've met Jaron. I've spent a fair amount of time, a few hours in his company, like physically in his company, where I can literally reach out and touch the guy, as opposed to just on the internet. And I've done the same with Robert Shortman. Now, they've both got conflicting testimonies. Now, unless you apply retroactive continuity, as AI pointed out, you don't necessarily have conflicting testimonies. Robert Shortman gave his. Jaron and Whitsitt, in this instance, have given theirs. That doesn't mean I can, or have to, reject or accept any of it. I can accept on the basis of the testimony that I've received, what I've received as first-hand testimony. Now, if I actually want to learn something, that is to say, better my existence, put something into practical use, then maybe I'll see it necessary to go down to Antarctica to explore something in a practical way. Now, I don't have that desire because there isn't anything to explore, and we've already figured that out a long time ago. That's why it's not a housekeeping question. Now, for the other numpties that look into this TFE, they're just seeking cope. It doesn't matter which side. They're seeking flat Earth reaffirmation of potentially a globe projection, azimuthal equidistant projection, or in the case of globe, projecting their, we haven't really proven anything, but your model failed. There's actually a globe projection. Therefore, ha, I sleep better tonight. That's all this achieves. So for the onlooker, that's us. Onlook, watch it unfold, watch the people try and come up with stuff. That's not to say that I decry the people who are looking into the shadows and looking into the snow not compacting or Vapegate even. You're like, good for you guys, you know, that's what you're going to do in this particular set of circumstances faced with what you're faced with. We don't have to do any of it. It's an idle discussion for us.
Only one day a week we're allowed, and that was on Tuesday.
Allowed what?
Vape gate and talk about footprints and shadows, and you know.
It seems that they want this whole thing is to get them to have the feeling of having any piece of evidence at all. You know, we took it all away.
We're pointing out that it was never there to begin with, but we've been doing that for months and months and months. So, you know, for the people who deluded themselves that they'd get some extra copium when they arrived in Antarctica and saw the sun, you go, okay, well, you're not going to change what we told you before they went. You were never going to do anything more than affirm the consequent. You were never going to do more than make an antipodal assumption to make this mean anything for you on a globe. And what, debunk that the azimuthal equidistant already debunked 10 years ago, map that isn't a model and isn't a flat Earth map or model, it's a globe projection, doesn't work. Wow. What an achievement.
All of these things, I call it the feast of nonsense of Antarctica.
But it is amusing to watch. And by amusing, I'm not trying to demean the people who do this stuff when they're looking into it and analysing the information that they're actually presented with. It's fascinating. I'm not going to lie. I'm watching it. intrigued, but I don't have a horse in the race, do I?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's how I'm looking at it too.
We're going to go live a little bit early today. A dentist appointment, 3:30. Not 2:30 today.
2:30.
Yeah, so I'll start about maybe 10, 15 minutes earlier than normal. We'll still do the full hour, potentially.
After show at all?
No, there'll be no after show. It'll just be the live show. You see Brian's video with shadows?
I saw the first 10 minutes of it.
Oh, watch the very last bit. He's got these shadows modelled out in a way that I thought was really cute. Like, as in it visually represents what he's describing really effectively. And when he started moving the points around to make his point, I was like, oh, that's cool. I like the way he did that. Right at the end of the video.
Brian's going on Mark Sargent Friday.
Good.
I think that's the perfect spot for him. Nobody interrupted him. Him just having a conversation with Mark Sargent, laying down pitched at him and things like that, and he'll do very well there.
Yeah, well, we're OG flat earthers now, aren't we? So it's not like Brian and Mark aren't familiar with each other. Like, it's not they're going to be their first introduction. Brian's there to talk shop, isn't he? You know what I mean? He's there
Absolutely
motivated to talk shop, and that is precisely. I know already. I don't have to ask Brian what he's going to be doing there. I know what he's going to be doing there.
Yeah, while certain people are melting down, Brian's just talking shop, going on different platforms and having people admit and show right on the camera flat Earth elevation angle measurements, track their sun and their shadows, and it's brilliant, actually. Good job, Toon.
You guys remember the name of the title of the debate?
I don't offhand. Do you know?
What debate?
Brian's and McToon's.
So it was on
debate,
Modern Day
was,
Debate, and I'm sure it's got both their names in the title. So if you go to the Modern Day Debate channel, you'll find it relatively easily because it was only in the last 2 or 3 days. Oh no, it was probably a bit longer than that, wasn't it? It was over Christmas.
The thesis.
There's a meaning why he's asking.
No. The thesis of the debate was: is flat Earth viable?
Yeah, that's it. Is flat Earth still viable since TFE? I think was the question in the title.
Is flat tenable?
Tenable. There you go.
So do you think that pretty much conceding that everything before it, all the globe proofs are just don't do it?
Well, Brian summed it up. He was like, this is just a way of hand-waving 10 years worth of what we've done to undo their paradigm, understand how their paradigm's created, and arrive at the point where we're describing how Earth is measured flat in all instances. It's a way of just hand-waving dismiss all of that in one foul swoop. I spoke to Brian on the phone for several hours, actually, after he went and debated Toon. I was like, why'd you do it? And he's like, I was compelled to do it because this, Brian was saying, he saw as Toon's way of doing that, like fulfilling that. Well, here's how we hand wave all of it. Just makes flat Earth just completely untenable. You're like, what? No, that's what you want it to do. So Brian felt compelled to do it. In a similar sort of way, I felt compelled to go live on the day they did the TFE itself. I just felt compelled to do it. Anyway, this is Brian's video. Just want to play out a bit of it just so Neil gets the idea of what I was talking about.
People say there's no point in people saying to me, oh, it's not the scale, the globe is really close. It doesn't matter. It's claimed that the globe is receiving parallel light rays from this sun. That's the point. which means that these are parallel, which means the sun, the globe Earth is receiving them, so it doesn't need to be on. The shadows must be parallel at all times. No ifs, buts, or maybes. There is no other way for this to work within their paradigm. Sorry. So here you have, like, I just did this little quick depiction. These are all different directions of light, right? And the different, like, this is different sunlight directions and the different ways shadows could work here. And this works fine here, 3 poles or whatever, so the light from the sun.
Right, let's give this a bash. I'll share it with you. Can you see the screen, Neil?
I see a screen with the celestial dome on top.
Hold on.
Now I see it.
Yes, now we see it.
But as that sun moves away, the R, T, and V will appear to come closer, and suddenly they will begin to diverge. So this will begin to do that, and that will begin to do that, and that will begin to do that. This type of thing will start happening. As these 3 come closer, which is when the sun is going to be going down lower in the sky, right? This is what's going to be happening.
Cool, huh? That was it. That's all I wanted to show you. I just thought the way you visually represented it, as soon as you saw it, it made me smile. I was like, that's really cool. Well done. Anyway, that was it. That's all I wanted to show you. Yeah,
Brian does good visuals when he draws things out and draws them up. I like it.
Yeah, me too. Good video. Yeah, so I want to get in touch with Banjo and say, look, I'm glad you're collating all of these research points that people of Flat Earth have gone through in light of them having, the second debunk of the azimuthal equidistant projection of a globe. Now, I get that Banjo's got a fair amount into cups and mugs and posters, but who cares, right? That was true, and we didn't knock him up until this point for the last 8 years for using those, as Mark would call it, learning tools, whatever you want to phrase them as. But at this point, you're like, okay, well, they've used that specifically to ridicule us now, and that won't change moving forward. It'll always be cited if you ever use that map. So I'm not suggesting just change the map and everything will be cool. It's like, understand why it doesn't matter. But also, kudos, great, you've done a good job collating all of people's research into TFE thus far. I don't want to get people's backup when I'm like, this is unimportant, because they might get the wrong idea, because I'm watching it as much as anybody else with intrigue, because I'm fascinated. But when I say it does not matter, I mean, it makes no difference to how Earth is dealt with, measured, functional. It doesn't make any difference to those things. Do you know what I mean? But people might be like, cheeky sod, these people have spent their time looking into this. They've produced a video for you to understand it, and you're just hand-waving it. It's like, well, no, don't mistake me hand-waving the importance based on Earth's continued flat measurements with a non-significance to this particular rhetoric when it comes to guys who've gone to Antarctica versus Earth being measured flat. Then it becomes insignificant. Not to demean the efforts of people who are making videos. Or get called a shill, because that's one of the things that Banjo put in his videos. But anyone who says they have proven there's a 24-hour sun is a shill. I'm like, I'm happy to entertain that because it's inconsequential to me. So if someone comes along and says, you said there wasn't a 24-hour sun back in 2016, I've got a clip of you saying it. So they found one. Like, okay. Yeah, okay. There is. Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. Well, what do you say? I say there is a 24-hour sun. What do you say? And back and forth it goes until they make a claim. Till they actually lay something on the table. Then you can start pulling that apart.
If this does turn out to be one big fraud, oh boy.
Again, it doesn't matter though, does it? That's the other side of the coin. Okay, it all turns out to be provably in a giant tent with tellies. Okay. And it's the same exact process, Neil. And
It already is a fraud because it's claimed to be an experiment when it's not.
exactly. So the standard
Yeah.
doesn't shift. So what does change? Okay, so they were, let's say you prove beyond all doubt they're in a dome of tellies. So what? And
Well, it just it'll just confirm the type of people that I know they are.
Ooh.
sorry, we've been saying Whitsit's a liar and a charlatan for a significant amount of time.
And he
'Cause
still
is.
has
No, with demonstrable
millions of
evidence
people
to prove
watching
that.
now. And he still
Sure,
has,
but
well, not millions, but hundreds of people going by on when you watch one of his shows, the chat just flying by, hundreds and hundreds of people.
yeah, it's helpful
So it'll be good for them.
helpful for the purge. It means that the idiots that were following him and where they didn't care that we took apart his ether fantasy, he's lost credibility for different reasoning. Okay, well that's useful to us because he's a lying shyster. So unless he changes those ways, he might rescind his ways and have a turn of, heart that's in our preference. I.e., we wouldn't, if he came to us and was like, yeah, okay, I get it, I've listened. Here's how I accept my doublespeak, contradictions, and lies. I'll try and do better. Then I don't think anybody here going, okay, fine. Well, you're beyond forgiving. I don't think anybody would say that about anybody, including probably Jaren. If he turned around and said I was in a tent of tellies. But again, what would it prove? Okay, it proves that they lied. Okay, and they already were liars. I'd already got demonstrable proof of that. I tried to tell people, but got called a scammer for it, didn't I? So, unless it's really egregious, people won't listen. Well, yeah, basically. But we already know the people around us already knew that, didn't they, Neil?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm talking about the people that don't know and are still being deceived by these characters. Well, Witsit did come in and say, let's work together. But there was no confession of how wrong he's been going about it. How are you?
Hello.
Bonjour.
Hello. So we've opened up the 25 doors, if you will, 2025 being the year, for Cope. So if you want to come and not necessarily be an onlooker into the dust storm that's still in the air after TFE, there is a 24-hour sun. Some people were willing to accept that based on the information presented by the people who alleged to go down to Antarctica. Other people have suggested it's all fake for whatever reason. And here's the signs of hoaxery. Now, as I was saying in the pre-show, we are willing to open our doors to either because it's inconsequential for both in our regard. It doesn't make any difference to us. As it happens, they're starting to release a few measurements. And what do you know? They're measurements with respect to horizontal planes of reference. That would be a flat Earth prerequisite that they're all utilizing to give any measurements with angles. Those elevation angles are still flat Earth prerequisites. Nothing's changed. They're still measuring Earth flat and always will. So that's fascinating. But if you want to take it as read that they're all faking it, again, that's also interesting. And I'll pay homage to anybody who puts out the video showing how there's no footprints or that he's breathing in a vape. I'll entertain it all. It's all very amusing. And I don't want people to think that I'm a shill when I go, okay, I'll accept there's a 24-hour sun. Fine, there's a 24-hour sun. That doesn't make me a shill. Which means I can attempt to entertain a notion to enter into a discussion with somebody who might automatically believe that is the case. Fine, I'll accept it alongside you. Let's discuss what that means. And we'll see what the measurements show us, shall we? We'll know where that will go. So don't mistake us and our seeming acceptance of a 24-hour sun based on what is presented as us suddenly being in on the grift, in on the shillery, in on the deception because there absolutely isn't a 24-hour sun, say some of you. I don't know either way. I didn't go down there. I wouldn't have any desire to in 2024/2025 as it is now because it offers me nothing. Didn't offer me anything after about year 2016 when they're getting quotes from me saying there's no 24-hour sun in Antarctica after interviewing a first-hand witness to there being no 24-hour sun seems pretty reasonable to me. It turns out 10 years later, bit of a time gap for some reason, maybe not 10 years, 8 years later, that there is alleged to be one. That's fascinating. Meanwhile, we've moved on to the Earth and its measurements, as opposed to the sky, and its measurements with respect to the plane of reference you'll get angles from. How interesting. You measure Earth flat in Antarctica. Nothing changes for our rhetoric. Nice to point out a few flat Earth measurements that are brought back, though, eh? Speaking of which, is there any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature. Where's that tumbleweed sound effect?
No, I still don't know where level might have been along the way to Antarctica. So, no.
Well, that would be the interesting thing that would hold some fascination for me, not necessarily Brian, because Brian gave me the impetus to think this could have some bearing on their journey. If they can show that they've reached their destination and are antipodal from where I stand now, well then, please offer us that information. Pitch data would be a very good start. Now, Brian's logic's take on it is, nah, we don't need their journey, any pitch data at the time of asking, because we didn't have any. Now we do. It's kind of like, that's inconsequential for them also. I already have pitch data. I don't need a trip to Antarctica for it. If you want to contradict the NTSB data based on a trip to Antarctica, you feel free to show contradictory pitch data information. But I'm not asking for it. I don't need it. The NTSB is a perfectly satisfactory source, above and beyond Jaron and Witsy and that. You know what I mean? Right, any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? Shout out to P-Brain, who's just on the cusp of realizing that they're continually using horizontal planes of reference when they talk about rotating frames of reference. He's got a video out recently where he's describing like a load of tires stacked on top of each other rotating. Like, no, you're just so close to recognizing that they're utilizing flat Earth prerequisites in the descriptions of rotating frames of reference. So shout out to UP Brain. There's a whole bunch of them that have been doing stuff on the TFE that I've been subscribed to, but they've just kind of come out of the woodwork. Loads of them. On both sides of the argument. It's really interesting. Loads of old names that you're like, oh, I remember you. Where were you for the last 6 years? While flat Earth debate was raging, where were you? But you've got an opinion now, have you? How interesting.
Yeah, that's how it feels.
Would that be conspiracy cats, Nathan?
No, nobody in particular. I didn't know conspiracy cats had resurfaced, but there's a case in point. Hey, conspiracy cats, what is it, 120 times? Any evidence you can have gas pressure without a necessary antecedent of container to press upon?
Wait. He said he was going to get back to that question when he debated Tommy.
He already answered it. Without the balloon, there can be no pressure.
Right.
That's pressurized gas.
Very different to gas pressure. I'll be right back. Yeah, like Paul Voigt with any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. I'll be right back. What's it been, 7 years? Like I say, extract from TFE what you want. If you're a globe believer like Cats, then what are you going to see? Ah, yeah, I was right all along. Yeah, it's just globe cope. People don't seem to get it. Some people try and project that globe cope over here and it doesn't get them very far. Most people lack imagination. So what globe cope can I extract from Nathan Oakley? Well, Toon's telling me that there's a claim of no guns. You're like, really? You're going to run with that, are you? Okay, see how that goes.
Next.
Yeah. Any evidence of the distance to the sun? I've got to be honest. I've mentioned it in the pre-show twice, right? The shadows seem to suggest that the light source is local. Now you can say the elevation angle measurements that you're taking prove a flat plane. You can say that the local nature of the shadows prove that there's a dome around them in the form of TVs. Or you can say it's a caustic coffee cup reflection, creating that effect of a 24-hour rotation above that position if it's alleged and assumed to be true. In either event, what does seem to be the case consistently is that the light source seems to be revealing itself to be local. Would anybody disagree with that statement?
No, I would not disagree.
This is the benefit of sitting back and watching the dust settle. Everyone's pointing at it and we're just going, yeah, I choose to agree in this instance. There's no skin off my teeth. What are you going to prove it with? The elevation angle measurements. Yeah, that proves a flat earth in itself, doesn't it? So I'm done here. I don't need this. But it is interesting. It does seem to be a local light source, like much closer than is alleged.
Do you not consider 93 million miles to be local?
Well, I just asked the question. So the distance to the sun at 93 million miles is an extrapolation based on flat earth elevation angle measurements, spherical radius derivations, and impositions on a light in the sky we call Venus to extract out, based on Kepler's scaling, this distance, right? Take the transit. If you know the size of the light, you can extract out the size of the sun and its distance. Kepler and Huygens. But the Kepler and Huygens maths comes from observations of cyclical patterns based on elevation angles off a flat Earth. So to infer that you've actually got that distance is utterly absurd when you know the origins of the extrapolations and calculations based on flat Earth measurements that give you that number. So as much as I understand the farcical nature of you asking if 93 million miles is local, well, the maths is non-existent in reality, isn't it? It's just a number that's plucked out of the Kepler, Huygens, and who's the other one? Got the third one. Who's the other one? Kepler, Huygens, and
Copernicus?
Copernicus, of course. It's the Copernican frickin' model. Indeedy. So yeah. I was just thinking of the scale and the size when I'm trying to think about it. Therefore, Kepler and Huygens are the most relevant to the actual 93 million miles or the size of the sun. You know, that's where they're getting that from. But the overall notions of being heliocentric. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
Then it wouldn't be an angle, would it?
No, it wouldn't. And anytime you hear a reference to an angle in respect to this TFE, know that Earth is being measured flat.
Elevation is from level.
Yeah.
Level is flat. Righteous Force. I was talking to him the other day, and he said, you know, he was talking about how like flat earthers take the AE map or whatever, and they take it as their own. And I was like, that's not exactly true. But I did wonder, I was like, who uses the AE map? So I Googled it, and it was like, well, you're saying AE map, so you're probably having to talk to flat earthers. But here's the answer. It's navigators and astronomers and flat earthers.
What else haven't we covered? Any evidence you can have pitch data on a globe?
Negative. You haven't covered the R value.
Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
No, but I'll give the guy. He wants to know what you're talking about when you say, "How do they get their R value?" What are you talking about? What are you getting at? It's a question in chat. I said I would ask you.
This is from a glober, right?
I don't know. First time I'm seeing him here. That's why I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. Can someone help explain to me when Nathan asks Globies how they get their R value? What is he getting at?
I'm saying, where do you get your radius value from? It's the clue is in the questions and the words used specifically without changing them. Any evidence of the R value is pretty self-explanatory.
But Flat Earth Math said he doesn't need an R value, Nathan.
Well, he's a liar because he uses it. I've pointed that out. Charles, Flat Earth Math is just a liar. Yeah, when it's pointed out that the only acquisition of an R value requires flat Earth measurements, suddenly you don't use it. No, you absolutely use it. Don't lie. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No.
A torsion bar twist.
Come again?
Now, remember Bob, the science guy, he said the hypothesis for the experiment with torsion bar twist is the viable hypothesis proving gravity.
Torsion bar twist being a natural phenomena, right?
The observed phenomenon.
Yeah, where we observing torsion bar twist in nature. No, the real
At the Home
hypothesis.
Depot, I guess.
You're talking Cavendish, obviously. If you try and break down
On the dance
Cavendish
floor?
into a hypothesis, it breaks down as follows. If mass, then mass attracts mass. What about any scientific evidence of gravity?
People don't know what science is, so that's going to be convoluted.
Yeah. When are we going to start breaking that down? It's now, really, isn't it? This is the first show of 2025. So
You
what
should
are our
start
plans?
breaking it down because the guy was telling me there's more than one scientific method. There are scientific methods, plural.
That's a Darth joke, isn't it? Somebody joins the mock parody of Flat Earth debate, which is Globe Earth Dictate, and somebody joins the panel, member of the public, and says, I've been looking into the scientific method, and the host, Ethan Woodley, says, methods!
Yeah, but he's right because that's what this guy. His name is Evolution is True, so that should give it away right there. He claims there's methods, plural.
Okay, fine. I mean, you can make believe that there are more than one empirical methods of establishing the cause of naturally occurring phenomena, but there's not. So when people say, well, this method, and then they detail something that won't empirically validate something, you're like, well, that isn't empirically validating something. Yeah, but it's still a method, and I want to call it science. No, you want to call it science so that your method that doesn't empirically validate things seems like it empirically validates things. Because science empirically validates things, and this isn't. So they want there to be many different types of science, so they can call many different things empirical proof, when they're not. DFE being a case in point. Final experiment. The only thing I've ever said to Will Duffy ever when he left a comment on one of my videos. What are your independent and dependent variables? In other words, what's the hypothesis for your experiment? What's an experiment? It's the actualization of a hypothesis. What's a hypothesis? It's your dependent variable, that's the phenomena you're trying to figure out the cause of, and your suppositional causal influencer. That's what a hypothesis is. It's an if and then suppositional statement of cause and effect based on a phenomena that you want to know the cause of. You observe a phenomena, that's step one, and then you suppose a cause of it. I think this will cause that. That's a hypothesis. If what you think will cause it, then the phenomena that you're trying to induce. What's an experiment? You varying the thing that you think causes the effect that you're studying to see if it causes it or not. That's an experiment. So to actualize a hypothesis, that's an experiment, you need to know what those things are. What's the thing you're observing and trying to induce by varying a causal influencer? Because those would be your independent and dependent variables in the hypothesis. Without them, this is fraud. Duffy is a fraud. Doesn't have those things. He's lying, pretending to sell you something that he doesn't have. Empiricism. That's established cause and effect reasoning, validated through systematic experimentation. That's actualization of hypothesis. Not one observation of a claim phenomena that's very, very iffy in terms of its presentation, accompanied by a load of flat earth measurements. That's not an experiment. That's fraud. But they could be in a load of TVs. You never know. They could be on melted ice that's CGI and leaves no footprints. Witsit could have been vaping. It's all very exciting. Me, I'm more interested in the flat earth measurements that keep coming out from there. Very, very amusing. Like we've got a video that Vlad has suggested we cover. Any other exciting news from TFE? As I know it's going to be on the minds of many who are tuning in. 80 people watching. Please share the show if you've not done so already. Smash that share button. It's only a couple of clicks to get it onto your favourite social media platform, be that MySpace or Bebo or Facebook or whatever it is you're using. No other exciting news in the last few days? Shout out to OBE lines. Hope you all have a great 2025. Me too. I'm sure we all will. Me, I've got the dentist in about an hour.
Well, let's use this time wisely.
I am using it wisely. I'm just keeping the airwaves open, see if anybody's got anything to add before I move on to Brian and his video in regards to the shadows. I'll play a couple of seconds of it and then I'll share the video so you can check it out, because it's obviously not going to be done justice given it's a solid half an hour long.
Right? Or right, this type of effect will happen as the sun goes down low. Right, when it's in a closer proximity, you're going to have shadows that are more directly in aligned. Right, that's going to happen. Right, when it's in closer proximity to those poles, but not when it starts to, when it's at changes its proximity so much that in relation to them that they start to diverge. That can't happen on a globe. On a globe, these must they must always let's bring this around. Right, on a globe, these must always be parallel. Right, everything must always be parallel within that paradigm. There is no other way. This is not going to be happening. It can only be this. But in reality, we can have this and that, which means the sun's light giving us shadows proves that the Earth is a flat plane. It can't, right? And basically proves it's stationary as well. Because there's no way that we can have these kind of shadows, right, on a globe. You can't have.
Okay, so that's Brian's logic for video 3D globe shadow problems. And I've stuck a link to Brian's video, so go and let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Leave him a polite comment. And yeah, subscribe if you've not done so already. Also, shout out to Duncan McLeod, who says, evidence, evidence. Where are the guns, Nathan? I don't know, maybe we should remove it from the housekeeping questions that we asked all those years about guns and 24-hour suns and stuff, Duncan. Thank you so much for the super chat. Okie dokie.
For as
We've also
long
got
as
this to cover from critically mindful. So I'll stick a link to this and then I'll read out Adam's super chat in a second. First, actually. So shout out to the price of Adam, who says, where's the sun, Nathan? Yeah, I think they faked it. There is no sun. Thank you for the super chats. Okay, so this is critically mindful, and it's the problem with flat earthers. I assume it's a recent video, presumably going to be based on TFE. We shall see how long this strawman dust cloud hangs in the air, so to speak.
humanity has been humanity. we have wondered about the nature and structure of the world that we find ourselves in. Looking out at the land, sea, and sky, we have sought to make a picture in our minds that encapsulates it all, organizing the raw data of our experience as we do with every other aspect of life. As such, cosmology has almost certainly always been present as an aspect of human culture in one form or another. When anyone, even today, looks out at the world from their individual point of view, what they see is an expanse of land and/or water, depending on where the viewer is, stretching horizontally in all directions and culminating in the straight line of a horizon that meets the sky.
Yeah, pretty accurate so far. I don't have any objection with what I said up to now.
A sky that stretches up from that horizon all around until it curves into a highest point in the center.
No. By your perception, what you're seeing could be described as a perspective view of the stars. But in terms of how we gather the data for them, you're talking about two planes. You got it right the first time in terms of what you see in the expanse and what is a description of the horizon. Romantic though you made it, it was still accurate. But now you're mincing words because you're describing a curve to the... No, that's modelling it into the celestial sphere based on a perspective view of it. That is not what they actually do.
Because of this, it is completely understandable that the average person for most of early human history conceived of the Earth as a flat disk underneath a round dome constituting the heavens.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily go along with the whole dome idea. I know that we must have some form of containment because we're breathing gas pressure. And in terms of how we will measure the Earth, that's how you've just described it initially. It's not like, well, because we deal with Earth and measure Earth flat, it's reasonable to accept that. It's like, no, the second statement is completely redundant. If you're measuring it that way, that's how it is.
However, with increases in perspective that bring new areas of inquiry, new knowledge can be gained.
On the contrary, they took the flat Earth measurements and created a globe model that you're now going to babble on about believing in. I am in no doubt. But no, the origin measurements remain the same. They're still the same now. If you want to believe in a ball Earth, you're going to start with those prerequisites that you detailed. That aren't a reasonable thing to accept to a point. You're using them in the measurements to create a globe with them.
Modifying or replacing previous understandings. Such was the case millennia.
Yeah, you're modifying them, because when you take measurements of angles to stars to create things like the celestial sphere understanding of the patterns in the sky, based on your perspective view, a flat plane and a parallel sky measured and projected into a dome of the heavens, that reification can move forward to violate the original baseline measurement into being a curved surface. Obviously, devoid of all usefulness when measuring angles to stars thereafter. But that's your globe reification. Like violating the original measurements. I don't know what word did he use? Altering or something? You're not going to mold a base understanding. They're measurements.
Millennia ago, far earlier than the average person today thinks, with our understanding of cosmology in the West.
Then you'll understand how Earth's measured flat with elevation angles if you've got a vague understanding of cosmology, because that's what it's utilizing. The cyclical patterns that you've documented for thousands of years, they haven't changed. Earth was flat when they measured them.
And the East following soon after. Hello, everyone. I'm critically mindful, or at least I try to be, and welcome to The Problem with Flat Earthers. From Pythagoras to Aristotle, Aristotle to Eratosthenes, Eratosthenes to Ptolemy,
They all took flat Earth measurements. They're all dealing with the stars and the angles with respect to them. They're all measuring Earth flat. So far, not so good.
Ptolemy to Copernicus and Galileo to Bessel.
They're measuring Earth flat too.
And Hubble, and
all measuring Earth flat. All of them, without exception.
So on, with many others between and afterwards, right up to the present day, our understanding has been firmly reorganized and established through rigorous observation and mathematical experimentation.
No, that's a category error. Mathematical experimentation. No, if you're talking about nature, that falls under the category of natural science. That's cause and effect reasoning based on hypothesis and the actualization thereof. That's science. Maths, that's measuring stuff. In this instance, measuring angles to stars.
Into the understanding of our Earth, with all of its land.
No, that's a CGI representation of a globe depicted based on the extrapolations and projections into that reification. That is not the world we live on. It's not even a picture of the world we live on.
Air and bodies of water as a sphere that floats.
No. If you picture the world as a sphere in that manner, then you've got to violate the second law of thermodynamics, because all of the gas that you're breathing in the reification of you standing on that sphere would stand in direct violation of laws of entropy, dispersion. Gas would fill this sky vacuum that you think the black area is when the blue area goes black at night. You think that's a vacuum.
Floats through space.
No, all of the gas that we're breathing, see these clouds, they exist in high pressure gas. This is claimed to be a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum. Ergo, in line with natural law, that's the second law of thermodynamics, gas would fill the space, we'd all be dead in this stupid paradigm. You're reifying the mathematics of those flat earth measurements those gentlemen you listed earlier made and put in motion around the sun in a heliocentric manner. But in terms of its reification ability, it's not possible, because you violate a law of nature to do so. I realise this is your religion, by the way. You think you actually are standing on this CGI garbage representation of a second law of thermodynamics violation, high pressure gas, not filling space. It's absurd. Furthermore, this way of projecting these land masses came from the measurements of the stars to give you ground positions in the mapping of the territory when measuring Earth flat.
Orbiting the sun, which is a...
No, the Copernican ideas of orbits are derivations of the celestial sphere model measured with respect to a flat plane to be extrapolated out into a heliocentric motion. Copernicus, Huygens, Kepler. These are men of the church, given with a task of better explaining the positional data of the lights in the sky, that are measured with respect to a flat plane. Their extrapolations give you what you now to understand is the world you stand on in a heliocentric motion. It's not, it's just maths that came from the Roman Catholic Church.
Star, the same as all of those more distant points of light.
No, they're not. You're reifying mathematics that have come from the Roman Catholic Church. You're describing like this is actually the case.
Floating in the vast expanse of a cosmos constituted of billions of immense shining clouds called galaxies.
No, that's just all heliocentric garbage nonsense where you've reified lights in the sky into physical entities that have substance beyond your comprehension, but are described as being measurable in terms of their size, their physicality, and their distance. All of which has come from Kepler, Huygens, and Copernicus at the behest of the Roman Catholic Church. Stop reifying these stupid mathematical nonsensities into reifiable physicality. I understand, I say again, that this is your religion, and until you're listening to this, you actually thought you were standing on the reification of these maths based on flat Earth measurements.
Each one composed of billions of luminous stars, which are drifting through an ever-expanding space.
No, that's also garbage. That's Lemaitre.
However, the purpose of this video is not to give a detailed history of modern cosmology.
It's not. You've just given some rhetoric from some people, some men that came up with garbage, like Big Bang, expanding universes. They're extrapolating out what they see through telescopes. None of this is ever possible to be in effect at all unless you start with the base measurements of Earth as a flat plane. That's what it's all based on. Doesn't matter which bit you pick. I'll talk about redshift, okay? You'll be describing it with respect to a plane. All of it is described with respect to a plane. That's where all of the measurements originate.
Nor is it even to provide a history or thorough refutation of the modern flat Earth conspiracy theory.
There is no conspiracy theory. What you've presented there isn't what I ascribe the world as being. Number one, it's not even flat. Kind of an idiot says, oh, well, the flat Earth, well, this isn't flat, dum-dum.
Which rejects this entire accumulation of discovery.
What the accumulation of the flat Earth measurements evolving into sphericity? No, you'll need an equatorial plane and flat Earth angles described from within the sphere to have a capability of projecting those mappable, chartable points measured on a flat Earth onto a sphere, so you can make the celestial sphere work from within the globe through projected points that maps then use, that get projected back out onto flat maps to actually use in reality when they're distorted vastly. But all of this comes from the origin measurements of a flat plane. You want to see? There it is on screen right there. celestial sphere through a equatorial extended celestial plane. From within, you get the angles that work with measurements of angles off a flat plane to stars. None of them work on a globe. You can't get angles on a globe. All of it works from within the globe after projection when you're using flat Earth measurements to create the globe. Do you not know your own origins? Seems like you're telling me that I'm ignoring the origins because I'm a flat earther when I know I'm better than you do. Your globe comes from flat Earth origins, numpty.
There are plenty of resources out there if that's what you're interested in. And
yeah, I'm one of them. Yeah, my name's Nathan Oakley. I'm a flat earther and I understand the origins of your globe reification, how it came to fruition, who were commissioned to create it, what their names were, and what church employed them to do it. It's not a reifiable model. It's not a model at all. It's maths, based on flat Earth angles to stars.
And I'll link some of them in the description below.
Better link me. Because at this point, I'm the authority in this, not you. Nor are your links, because they haven't alluded to the fact you need flat Earth measurements. You're trying to decry the flat Earth based on it being a bleeding conspiracy theory. Got a numpty of you.
To aid your search. Instead, the main purpose of this video is simply to use the example of the flat Earth conspiracy theory.
Like, what is this, a scientific theory? Conspiracy? Who's conspiring to do what? Earth's measured flat. It doesn't matter if I'm sat here alone and there's literally nobody around me. I can point out how Earth's measured. On my own. What are you talking about?
And those who seriously believe it to...
Oh, it's a stereotyping fallacy. Of course. What a clown. Officially mindful? Are you a mindful man of fallacy? You're using a stereotyping fallacy, dum-dum. That's why I'm spanking you with this nonsense.
To drive home one single point. We, as a society, need to start respecting our elders.
Non sequitur fallacy much?
Bear with me. Last year, I was hanging out with a group of friends at a party, and there were two sisters who revealed that they sincerely believe that the Earth is flat.
Who gives a shite about these two chicks who believe Earth is flat? I know it's flat, that's how it's measured. Now, your problem is you're hanging around ditzy blondes that don't know anything by the sounds of things because they've got a belief in it. Well, the second you heard those words coming out of their mouth, you should have immediately disregarded all that they said from that point forth. We don't care what you or these ditzy women that you're chatting to believe. We know. But what, you're going to discredit by stereotyping fallacy the whole of flat Earth based on what two chicks said to you? Really? Why were you listening to what chicks believe? You not got better things to do? Me, as I say, I'm the authority in this. That's how we measure Earth. Now, if we didn't measure Earth like that, for example, the latitude measurements that we make and employ on a daily basis in navigation, but for the fact that we can and do measure them with respect to a plane, we wouldn't have a globe to create. Now, you probably think that you can deny flat Earth elevation angle measurements to the star known as Polaris to create this system for navigating that requires a flat plane to do it and is then superimposed onto your globe after the fact. Perhaps you'd like to deny latitude measurement because that's not my bleeding belief at a party. I believe it. No, I don't believe Jack. Don't need to. You believe you're on a sphere reified from those flat Earth measurements I'm the authority on in this instance. Not your two chicks that you're exampling who believe something. Really? How interesting. Like people believe in 9/11 truth and the JFK conspiracy. That kind of beliefs. Yeah, we're not those kind of muppets. Those chicks that you're associating with at these parties that you go to. Yeah, they're numpties. Idiots. That have beliefs. We don't do that here. We, like society, need to accept sea level, says Unitox Femi. Yeah, right on. If we're going to be measuring something in its height, then we're going to need a level Earth to do it with. And we do! That's how it's measured. What do you know? Altitude with respect to sea level. Unitox Femi. Thank you so much for the super chat. Any comment? Because I've been blabbering through this quite a lot. I'm sure there's people who do want to pass comment on it, so I'll pause for a few minutes, see if there's anything from the panel. And I'll have a sip of coffee.
Not just the beliefs. It's all about beliefs again. You have to know Earth is measured flat. They just believe Earth is flat. What's that?
And you have to respect your elders.
Globe Earth truth. Respecting your elders.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any more for any more? How you all doing in Discord? You all having fun in the peanut gallery? Yes, Nathan, we love it here. Oh, well, I'm pleased to hear it.
What? Discord, where are you?
Oh, we have
making
fun.
coffee also.
Go on, Sasha.
I'm saying we are also making coffee.
Of course you are. There's 122 people live watching. Hopefully you're all enjoying the show as well. Smash the super chat to support this channel.
It came out because they asked one of my friends, who works as an airline pilot, if he could tell them at what point in his training they told him the truth.
They taught him how to fly a frickin' plane. The principles that are actually utilised on that plane prove Earth is measured flat also. Pitch data. So in terms of what the pilot does, he doesn't get access to the black box information. He understands that he's got to fly level. Yeah? Nose up with respect to horizontal. A couple of degrees with respect to a plane of reference. We can prove that with measurements of a flat Earth from the NTSB, National Transportation and Safety Board. They're not two chicks at a party that happen to talk to a pilot. It's the data that's actually measured in his black box information. It proves Earth is measured flat. That trumps you two chicks talking to a pilot at a party, mate.
He politely tried to explain that he literally would not be able to do his job if the Earth was flat, due to the information from global positioning satellites that pilots rely on.
What, using the Mercator projection that's flat? 2D coordinate systems? And flying with gyroscopic motion that allows them to fly with nose up with respect to horizontal? Is that what the pilot said, this faceless, nameless pilot you've made up? In a hypothetical scenario with two chicks you were talking to? No, mate, you've just made this up. This is lies. You've made this shite up. Yeah? A pilot saying he wouldn't be able to fly if Earth wasn't a sphere because, let's see what the standard he gave him.
As well as all the complicated physics involved in flight.
Oh, it's very complicated. It's not physics. Physics is the study of the physical and natural world, otherwise known as natural science. Flying a plane, what are you talking about? If you're going to talk about physics, you're talking about science. If you're going to talk about gyroscopic motion and being able to determine whether or not you're nose up with respect to horizontal, that's a plane. That's not physics. That's maths.
Yeah. We got to go back to basics, Nathan. It's true. This is sickening.
One of the sisters merely brushed this off.
Who gives a toss? Do you know what I would do if I was confronted with these two chicks telling me that they believe Earth's flat? I'd say, why'd you believe it? Don't you know? And then I'd dig out my NTSB pitch data and go, bosh! It's measured flat, you pair of idiots. You don't need to believe in this.
Well, I don't know about that
They
stuff,
might give a
but...
toss. That's why he's talking to him.
He's just flirting with them, this hypothetical pilot this guy's made up. Critically mindful. You've just made this guy up. This guy's an apparition. He's in your imagination. You've just made him up. You're a liar. If this was a real circumstance, then you'd have some real demonstrable evidence. You'd give him a name. You'd give the two chicks a name. You'd have them talking to you. You just made all this up.
Before changing the subject to the corrupt and immoral nature of the government.
I can do this too. So I was at this bar and I was talking to these two chicks. In fact, there was 5 of them. They were all truly beautiful. They said that they met this guy called Critically Mindful. They said he was ugly. They said he smelt of BO. They said he didn't know what he was talking about and had a tiny penis. That's what they said about him. I mean, it's not like I'm just making this stuff up off the top of my head. Is it, Critically Mindful? Yeah, I can do it too. I can just make up garbage about nonsense people that don't exist. Hypothetically. And then just pretend it's real. I really did meet 5 beautiful girls who told me that Critically Mindful had a tiny penis. It's true, because I made it up myself.
If you don't want to believe something...
then I'll find the evidence that backs it. If somebody's presenting it, I'll ask them to give it me. And if they just show me a video clip of a man clasping his nose rather than the two chicks and pilot he just appealed to, I'll take it as read that he's a bullshitter and making all this up. And then just to juxtapose the garbage bullshitter, I'll make up a little story about 5 chicks in a bar talking about you.
Then you won't. And this brings me to the focus of my critique.
What critique of what? A made-up hypothetical fantasy of 2 chicks talking to a pilot? No, I've got NTSB pitch data, mate. It shows Earth is measured flat. I'm pretty sure when I bosh pitch data on the desk, it trumps your fantasy story.
Flat earthers are not stupid. It also goes without saying that flat earthers are not ignorant either, as the evidence and materials.
I've got to go the other way now. How do you know they're not stupid? I know a ton of dickhead, idiotic flat earth morons. Yeah? That I'd be embarrassed to associate with. So you saying flat earthers do not equal stupidity? What if I show you a string of idiot flat earthers now? This is the problem with stereotyping fallacies, positive or negative. Hey, one deck.
Needed to educate oneself on the shape of the Earth are readily available to anyone with internet access. I say that flat earthers are not stupid because most flat earthers that you
Stereotyping fallacy number 2 to come.
encounter do not lack the cognitive ability to put 2 and 2 together from the available evidence. Rather, they simply refuse to process.
Is that your marker for intelligence? Adding 2 and 2 together is the marker of whether or not somebody's got a decent level of intelligence, is it? Most flat earthers can put 2 and 2 together. Wow, your discernment's off the scale, my friend. That's wow, that's an amazing conclusion. Profound.
Process the information that would lead them to a conclusion that refutes their belief.
Sorry, what would that be? You haven't given us anything to refute my belief? I don't have one. It's a measurement-based assertion.
One of my favorite clips related to the flat Earth conspiracy theory is this one.
To imply that the Earth is flat, you aren't just saying that NASA is lying. You aren't just saying there's a conspiracy within a single company. You're implying there's a conspiracy involving the world's 71 space agencies, 13 of which have launching capability.
So this is a parody. These are 2 actors pretending to do it in a skit. This is your reference, is it? Oh, right, okay. The vampires that are going to attack us all brings up video footage of a vampire movie. Are you insane?
Not only are you saying all 71 of those agencies are lying about the shape of the Earth, but every single person in them is lying or being fooled by their...
No, that's a straw man that this guy in this skit is putting to a numpty that isn't a flat earther, he's just an actor. But no, we're not saying that. We would say that the sky vacuum... Do you remember earlier when you had your little images of the Earth in space? And I pointed out that no, actually what you're appealing to is mathematics, and then listed the people who gave them you and detailed how what you believe in is a violation of the second law of thermodynamics, as opposed to what this guy is saying with his stereotype fallacy, which is I say everyone at NASA's lying. Those words didn't cross my lips, though, did they? So what does this make you a liar by stereotyping fallacy? I didn't say that. Before we got to this little misrepresentation, by way of a skit that isn't representative of anything I have said, I didn't suggest that all NASA employees are lying. No. I cited a law of nature, didn't I? So what does that make you critically mindful? Just a bullshitter, yeah? Stereotyping bullshitter who hasn't done any research into this subject whatsoever. Please let officially mindful know 5 chicks in a bar told Nathan... that Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment not about the size of his penis that alludes to the fact that we have been sent, you, that is the audience, have been sent because Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. So please leave him a polite comment that doesn't automatically get removed by the YouTube censors. There is a link to his video going by in the live stream chat as we speak. And just let him know that we've covered his video. Point out what a bullshitter he is. And how he's misrepresenting and strawmanning us with these stereotyping fallacies based on 2 actors.
The respective companies. Furthermore, every single astrophysicist in the world is, by your implication, a scam artist getting paid to do research through telescopes and instruments that would be useless if the world were flat. So roughly 70...
But did you say telescopes and instruments that would be useless if the world is flat? You have to level the telescope with respect to the equatorial plane. Have you ever even used a telescope Oh, no, that's because these are actors building up a series of straw men, one after the next.
Nathan,
Go ahead.
they're only useful because the Earth is flat.
Yeah,
Let's get
what
it
would you do
straight.
if the Earth was a globe and you had an equatorial mount? So what are we going to level it to? Oh, yeah, it won't function unless it's described as being used from within a globe, on a plane, level to it. But what, they'd be useless if Earth was flat? No, you wouldn't be able to use them at all if Earth wasn't. You utter fool.
75,000 people are lying about what they do for a living. Now,
you know, they use this stereotyping fallacy and they slagging flat earthers off, can't add 2 and 2 together. But every glober I speak to will tell you that they measure curvature by taking elevation angle measurements, which is an impossibility. So I don't know who the stupid ones really are.
These guys, like Critically Mindful, who's a liar, he's not critically mindful in the slightest. You think listening to a string of stereotypes and straw men is being critically mindful? No, it's being an idiot. Yeah, and I'm here to tell you that fact, Critically Mindful. Yeah, my name is Nathan Oakley. I am a flat earther. I know Earth is flat, and it's based on measurements. Based on what a couple of chicks in a bar told me.
not only is it absurd to even imply that NASA program that under the United States government could possibly pull off this sort of conspiracy, but the fact...
Okay, that's an appeal to motivation fallacy. No, they're not operating in a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum. Anyone who says that they are is a liar. Gas fills space. Now, that's not some belief I hold. It's a law of frickin' nature. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas would fill that space. We'd all be dead. We'd have never developed gas pressure in the first place because there'd be nothing to press on.
The fact that all 71 space agencies around the world are also taking part in some conspiracy, and every astronomer and astrophysicist and astronaut is also part of the same. It just seems that so many different people are involved in this major conspiracy.
No, that's your concern, not mine. I couldn't give a toss how many people you deem to be involved in some perceived lie. I know the sky's not a vacuum. I know that there is a law dictating how gas behaviour operates. That is to say, it fills available volumes. So if the sky's a massive available volume, gas that we're breathing would fill it. Instantly. Meaning that we'd have never developed gas pressure, the very first gas particle to have come out of the ground, if uncontained, would fly into a 10 to the minus 17 torr sky vacuum to never return. We'd never, ever have gas to breathe if the sky was a vacuum for NASA astronauts to operate in. Ergo, all claims from that area that's a sky vacuum are automatically fake. At no point have I called anybody on the ground working at NASA liars. I've said anybody in a sky vacuum claiming to be in one is a liar. Because you can't be in a sky vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. The sky certainly is not one, and that's where they claim to be when lying.
Yeah,
As the interviewer in this video describes,
Like the actor in this skit, you dumb shit. Seriously, you dumb shit.
the amount of people, and of different kinds of people, who would have to be in on it when it comes to an alleged conspiracy like the Flat Earth, keeping the secret, is absolutely staggering.
No, it's a massive straw man that makes no difference. I couldn't give a toss how many people you, when you concern yourself with this, perceive to be lying. I couldn't give a crap. This is you worrying about this, not me. The guy in your little skit that you think is real, it's him or the writer and their concerns about it that they are projecting onto the Flat Earth character. Like, that's his concern. No, it's yours. You worry that there'd have to be a massive lie. Hey, did you say Conspiracy Cats has come back? Just like he explained in no uncertain times to Haunted House. Oh, well, I'd have to concern myself that there'd be a massive lie. Yeah, you might have to concern yourself about that, might you? I don't. Definitely not. But you can worry all day. You can worry all day about whether or not there'd be loads of people involved in some egregious lie. I just know Earth's measured flat and the sky's not a vacuum. I don't really concern myself beyond that. You want to worry about the world of deception? Oh, knock yourself out. I've got better things to do.
In order to not merely entertain such an idea, but to actually assert it, you must either...
We didn't assert it, you did, with a straw man. You're asserting it now with a reiteration of this skit straw man. It's your concern. You worry about this. You just need to project that concern onto us, don't you, with this little stereotyping fallacy that you're employing. Sad and pathetic. No, I don't worry about this at all. But the fact that you're bringing it up tells me in no uncertain terms that you do. You'd like it to be my concern, though, wouldn't you?
Believe that these millions of professionals in diverse nations and cultures across the world are all a part of the conspiracy.
No, you believe that and would like to project it onto us. I know astronauts are liars when they say they're in a sky vacuum, in a little suit keeping all the gas inside it. Like they're looking back at clouds in a suit that's stopping the gas filling the vacuum, but irony of irony, they're looking back on clouds that aren't filling the vacuum. Yeah, that's stupid. And I know that's a lie. What about the people working at NASA? I don't know if any of them are in. I have no idea what those people are doing. I've never met any of them or concerned about what they're lying about because they're not claiming to be in a sky vacuum. What, they're making a little gizmo for a rocket that's claimed to go to the sky vacuum? That's not a lie. Probably very hard-working individuals, I'm in no doubt. Praise be to all the hard-working NASA folk. Are they saying they're in a sky vacuum? If so, they're liars. Beyond that, I have no idea if they're liars, and I'm not suggesting that there's millions of people that have to be on some conspiracy. I just know the sky's not a vacuum. Do you understand the distinction between an actual argument that wins, that would be the sky's not a frickin' vacuum, if you say it is, you're a liar, especially if you're claiming to be in it, moreover, versus your alleged position means that I'd have to worry about all the people being in on it. Therefore, you say that there'd have to be all these people in it. Therefore, you're absurd when you suggest it because I say it and stereotype you with it. No, mate, you obviously worry about this crap, just like Conspiracy Cats, as he's been brought up a couple of times on this show. He also worried about the awful truth of how many people might have to be in it. Me, I couldn't give a crap.
Lying to the rest of us as willing participants in the elaborate deception for some unknown motivation, or...
So you're even summarising your own fallacy in this instance, then? Because this isn't my concern, it's yours, and it's an appeal to motivation fallacy that you're employing and projecting onto us. Oh, my God. And yet they call themselves mindful. You're delusional. That's what you are. You're not mindful. You're not critical either. You've got to be kidding. You're parroting a skit and you think you're being critically mindful. It's absolutely pathetic. Shout out to Unitox Femu. Elevation conspiracy is dangerous for the world. Thank you for the super chat. Also, shout out to Flat Earth Travolta. Nathan, I'm losing sleep. I'm sick to my stomach. The world is falling apart. I really need to know. Where are the guns, Nathan? Please provide longitude, latitude, and elevation above sea level. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it, Travolta.
You believe that most of these people like my friend the airline pilot, are not...
Right, you believe, like your friend what airline pilot? The one that you made up? Yeah, we called you out as a complete bullshitter and juxtaposed your little shitty example with you being described as having a tiny dick by 5 beautiful women at a bar. Yeah, I mean, I can make up invisible imaginary characters too, can't I?
So intelligent after all. Because while they are all fooled by our shadowy overlords...
While they all said he was dumb as all hell, I didn't need to listen to these 5 really beautiful women talking about how pathetic and ugly and stupid this man was. I just went to one of his videos and showed it for myself. I didn't need to believe what they believed about how stupid Critical Think was when they described him. I didn't need to believe the 5 chicks at the bar Critical Think. I just came to your video, found out how stupid you were, and listed the fallacies you employed. With your very limited discernment you're showing there.
You can see through the lies. And this brings me to my point. Flat Earthers are not stupid or ignorant. Flat Earthers are arrogant.
Yeah, I'll be slapping you about with the elevation angle measurements and the pitch data measurements and basically the flat Earth measurements. And saying, yeah, I am arrogant because I'm right. Got good right to be? Because you've used a load of fallacies and haven't suggested or proved in any way that you're on a globe beyond appealing to what people who measured Earth flat so far. That's what you've done. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm in a fair old position to be arrogant when I know Earth's flat and can prove it with measurements.
Why arrogant? Think of the dichotomy I just described. In order to believe in such a conspiracy as the flat Earth,
the one you're concerned with that you projected onto us and are now suggesting is a dichotomy? No, these are your concerns that are inconsequential to Earth measurements. You think they're a dichotomy? No, they're just your concerns about how many people would be involved, and now you'll quickly and best project that onto us.
If you've really thought it through, then you must believe one of two things regarding these millions of experts in various relevant fields who come from all over the world. Either, 1, they are all less honest than you.
Nah, I don't really assess their honesty. I mean, if we're talking about measuring latitude, I'll just describe how latitude's measured with respect to a horizontal plane of reference that the observer must be standing on to measure that angle. That's what it is. It's a measurement of an angle with respect to a horizontal plane of reference. It can't be anything else. It wouldn't be an angle anymore. And that's what we're measuring. Or if we're talking about how high something is, off sea level. Or if we're talking about the pitch of a plane with respect to horizontal, in the form of NTSB pitch data measurements that prove Earth is flat. So I'm a bit confused about where you're getting all this nonsense from, because that's definitely not us. That's what happens when you use stereotyping fallacies, though. You get to be made to look very, very stupid by Nathan Oakley, the flat earther, and his flat Earth measurements. That you'll also need when you reify those measurements into heliocentric motion by way of Kepler, Copernicus, and Huygens.
Or 2, they are all less intelligent than you. Aren't you?
You are absolutely, without question, less intelligent than me. Let's make that abundantly clear to my audience as they go and let you know Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. In his arrogance, with his measurements, with his arrogance pulling apart your stupid fallacies. Yeah. Hopefully you'll appreciate that that fact is true. You are stupid. Yeah, I didn't need to listen to 5 chicks in a bar to appreciate how stupid you are. I listened to your video.
You just so special? You and those few in your flat earther community? Aren't you?
No, again, I didn't need to appeal to some community, did I? I said it wouldn't matter if it was just me pointing out Earth measurements. I don't need to lean on some consensus. I could be shouting it from the hilltops alone, naked. Earth is measured flat. No consensus is needed.
You just so pure of heart and enlightened?
I'm a very special snowflake.
Flat earthers are arrogant. Of course, some of you, perhaps the more empathetic, may instantly think of an exception to this rule, a category of people within the flat earth community who believe in the...
Sorry, this is total garbage. So your video is now going to be based on what the people of flat earth are like. By stereotype. Who gives a shit? Earth's measured flat. Why do these videos immediately get off the beaten track about what Earth actually is? If you're going to assess something that's got the word flat and Earth in it, look at Earth and look at how flat it is. Look at Earth and look at how it's measured. Look at Earth and look at how it's practically utilised. Then you'll see exactly how flat it is. But what do? No, they look at flat earthers, don't they? Yeah,
even his make-believe pilot friend will be treating the ground below him as flat, horizontal, and stationary because he has to.
Yeah. So if his
he's just
tools on the plane
sort
function,
of arrogant, but I think he's about to unwind that now by saying, "Well, not all of them are arrogant. Some of them might not be."
Shout out to Unisox Femi. In order to believe that flat surface is flat, we must do what? Ask teacher why it is like that? Or question our own intellect? Dilemma is open. Okay, thank you for the super chat, Unisox Femi.
Conspiracy for reasons that are anything but arrogant. I mean, of course, those who make up the minority within the evangelical Christian community who believe that the Bible teaches that the earth is...
This is a non sequitur fallacy. Who cares what they teach in the Bible? We're not appealing to biblical cosmology. We're not appealing to biblical belief or scripture. We're appealing to measurements. NTSB. You heard of them? Like the guys who investigate the air crash in America, right? If you have a disaster, they're the ones looking at the black box data. Yeah, that's where we've got our information to show Earth's measured flat. You want to challenge it? Why are you? Disrespectful of those who died? You think the NTSB are lying when they show us the flat Earth measurements? No, they're not.
Is flat, and that therefore all Christians, and by extension all people, ought to believe that it is. I say that their reasons seem anything but arrogant because the thinking of such people most likely goes something like this. Premise 1.
Most likely goes, no examples, just make it up. Yeah? The feelings of the lovers of critically mindful most likely go something like this. Sound reasonable, critically minded? Shall I reel off some of the pathetic thoughts of the people who've... No? Seem unreasonable? Yeah, why are you doing it? It's only when I hold a mirror up to it that people go, oh, well, that's a bit much. No, it's exactly the same as what he's about to do.
Humans can be wrong or mistaken, but God cannot be.
Men can be flaccid sometimes.
Premise 2. The Bible is the Word of God. Premise 3. The Bible teaches a flat Earth cosmology. Therefore, conclusion 4. The Earth is flat no matter what any human says.
Wow, I mean, if this was an example that you had with somebody actually doing this, it would hit the mark a lot stronger than it really is. When I just contra it with, you haven't had this example actually, it's hypothetical, it's made up, it means nothing, and Earth is measured flat. So who cares what this hypothetical Bible basher says to you? Who cares? Now, if somebody comes along and says, Earth is measured flat, affirming what it says in the Bible when it says it's flat, I'd go, yeah, I completely agree. Same if they did it with the Quran. Earth's measured flat, just like it says in the Quran. You'd be like, yeah, absolutely.
It may seem obvious that such a chain of logic is born from an attitude of humility.
You just made it up, though. So this chain of logic was just your garbage nonsense that you made up to strawman us with. It's literally the textbook definition of a strawman, because you told us so. It could go something like this. That's called a strawman. You're just making up what your opponent could say to you. What are you doing?
Towards what such individuals believe to be the highest truth. However, I don't think this is the whole story. The problem lies with that third premise. Along with all of the physicists, astronomers, airline pilots, and many other kinds of scholars and experts and professionals
that you can make up what they say and do.
For secular flat earthers in our earlier analysis.
Who are these people? Where's the examples? I'm critiquing this. I'm a flat earther. You haven't represented what I stand for in any way, shape, or form to this point. We're almost 10 minutes into the video. I'm done with this. Right, any other comments?
Well, I've not listened to it all, but I don't think he's offered any. I mean, he's talking nonsense, obviously, but he's not offered any proof of his globe, has he? And how it's measured. He's not done anything like that, or tried to.
Because he doesn't know what one flat earther when he identified himself like flat earther, what that means. He wrote something on internet, maybe, and he's now explaining that and strawmanning every second, every point.
And all flat earthers are arrogant, except the Christians. They get a pass. They're okay.
He sounds wounded, doesn't he? Because his globe's being destroyed day by day. We've destroyed the globe. We can show evidence how it's measured flat. There's no actual evidence of a globe, apart from pictures you see in cartoons. That's it. There's no actual measurements. He'll be aware of that. And he's one of them globers is getting very emotional because his globe's being taken away from him, and he's crying like a little baby.
Yeah, that's what we do here. We do the good work here, like Adam says. The Adam Meakin. I'm a Christian and I'm an arrogant son of a gun.
Well, thanks for that.
The title was The Problem with Flat Earth. Obviously, it was more his problem with Flat Earth. And if he's seen David Weiss and Whitsitt, then yeah, he's probably going to come to the conclusion that flat earthers are arrogant.
Any more for any more? Good 160 people watching. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Smash the like button. Share the show. But with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's shows, both pre and live, possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.